Hello, everybody. This is my first ever YouTube video. My name's Michael Gilpin, and I just wrote a book. It's called A Slumbering Power. I published it back in November on Ingram Spark, but just got the author copies for that to give out to beta readers. Then I did a lot of editing and then republished just this last month on Amazon. So if you are Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. If you want to buy it, it's $5 on Kindle or $10 for paperback. Comes pretty quickly. Takes like a few days. You get the book. So this series that I want to start here is just for people who are beginning out writing or beginner authors, just to kind of go over my story, my background, you know, why I became a writer in the first place, and just a little bit about what I do in the process. So, the first thing that made me want to write a book was I read a lot of online stories for sci-fi, a lot of like the sci-fi stories.net, stuff like that, and they're not finished. And it's very frustrating. You get into a book that you like, you get a few chapters in, and then the author hasn't posted anything in years, 2, 3 years. So it's very frustrating. You don't get the finished books and all that and all those kinds of things. So I keep having different kinds of dreams. I've got multiple ideas for different books, and these dreams keep happening to me. So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to start writing these down. So I started writing down an outline for my first book and took it from there. Through this series, we will go through a bunch of different things. I will touch, I will have another series or another video that goes through the different writing styles, like discovery versus outline, the different tools that I use, the the different formatting options that you get to do for publishing, whether it be with Ingram Spark or KDP or anything else, the different publishing options, some of the stuff that I've experienced and I wish I knew before I started. Uh, some of the big things we'll go through. I do use Google Docs for all my writing. I use Pro Writing Aid for most of my editing. Pro Writing Aid now has a built-in plugin for Google Docs. I didn't have that when I started writing this, but I really like it now that I'm writing my second book. I honestly spent more time editing my book than I did writing the book. And that's just because I'm not a very strong writer grammatically, and the Pro Writing Aid really helped with that. So I think the free version, you can still do chapter critiques, at least one a day, and it helps with all the grammar and sentence structure and stuff like that. But if you do the pay version, it gives you suggestions on rewriting certain sentences that don't read well. So, very good tool to have. I would highly recommend that or a tool like it. There's lots of them out there. I'll go over my style of writing, how I outline stuff, how I keep my notes organized, things like that, how I come up with lists of names to help me with the story, to make it easier to pick them out rather than having to come up with them on the fly. Some of the other, if you've never taken a writing class, you can still be a writer. I've never taken any college courses or anything like that for writing. And I was over halfway through writing this book before I finally decided to look up some fantasy authors and some fantasy how-to guides as far as writing sci-fi and things like that. I ended up watching a few of the Brandon Sanderson lectures at the college, and I realized that most of the stuff that he says, 9 out of 10 of the things that he points out, are things that are already in the book or I'm already doing in the book. So it really just comes naturally. If you have a good idea and you're creative, just start writing. Even if you're not strong at writing, the pro writing aid will help you with that. It'll help you with your sentence structures and stuff that you do wrong commonly, and you'll be able to see your changes as you go. So we will review like a bunch of the pro writing aid critiques. I really like them. We'll go over the chapter critiques in detail, uh, what they recommend to change and things like that, things that they liked, things that they didn't like, and then things that you could grow and make the story stronger. So there's a lot of stuff that these critiques really do, and it really helps strengthen your writing if you're not a strong writer already. And then towards the end of the series, I will go through the final, which is a entire manuscript critique, and I found that super helpful in some ways. And then I will point out some of the things that Pro Writing Aid found that I don't think were as bad or as telling as Pro Writing Aid seems to think they are. Uh, so we'll be going over a lot of that stuff, and then just kind of the process I took in writing the book, and then the process I had in publishing the book and editing the book, and things like that. I am joining a book club near my house, near my home. It's a bunch of authors and local authors, and I really wish I had done that before I started writing this book. And I'm definitely going to use them for the next book that I am writing because they have this great community where they have a blog and all that kind of stuff where you can bring your issues and problems that you're seeing, and they help out greatly with coming up with new ideas and new angles to take. So I would highly recommend getting involved with that early on. It'll help with your networking and might give you some good beta readers right off the start there. So that would be a strong way to start. So this series, the episode should be about 15 to 30 minutes long. If you guys have any questions or comments or things you want to see specifically, I will definitely try to get them into any of the episodes that I do, or do specific special ones just for those questions. I I'm more than open to help anybody else out. If anybody wants to do a book swap where we can review each other's books on Amazon, things like that, just let me know and I'd be happy to do that. So for right now, that's kind of all I wanted to do is just introduce myself. I hope everybody's doing well with their writing, and I guess keep writing, and we'll see you in the comments. Like and subscribe below.